Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm really excited about my guest today because he is a very interesting individual with a very interesting concept when it comes to helping real estate agents and also helping you as a broker owner and a team leader understand what is the best way to find real estate agents that are going to be the best match for you and your company, but also for the agents themselves. So my guest for today is Joe Arnao. He is a real estate growth expert, a former broker owner, and also the expansion leader and director of growth for multiple big national real estate brokerages as well. So Joe currently right now is running a very interesting real estate consulting service, which we're going to talk a little bit about deeper into the show. But basically, what he does is he helps real estate agents match up what it is that they're doing and what they need to the real estate firm that actually provides them with the best solution. So it's a win-win situation. Today's show, Joe's going to talk about what it takes to grow a real estate team, what it takes to grow a real estate brokerage, and what it takes to successfully recruit, retain, and help agents produce as well. So, Joe, welcome to the show, man. Super excited to have you join us here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Colby. Appreciate the opportunity. What you just described could probably fill about three of these episodes. So we're gonna have to skim on this one.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot, right? And you've done a lot in real estate. So I'm really excited to really kind of just dig into what it is that you feel that you're seeing out there because a lot of real estate brokerages and a lot of real estate agents even are having now the opportunity to go out there and not just explore different opportunities, but go out there and grow their teams of agents as well. So before we get into all of that, Joe, I'd love for you to have an opportunity to share a little bit about your background and
So,
really, how did you get started in real estate and get to the point that you are here today?
sure. So I got into this back in 2003. My father-in-law was a developer, and he was farming out all his listings, paying 6%, whatever it was, out. And he had a broker's license. He was also paying out to find deals. Money was going out the door. So I came in, built a brokerage within his firm, and found deals for him, and then started doing some general brokerage as well, and got that going. It came 2006. We were in a vacation locations, secondary homes. So in 2006, we actually started to feel that what became the 2008 crisis. We got that early where we were, which happens in those types of markets. So I jettisoned from him and I took the brokerage and I expanded into the three states that we were. And I created my own brokerage. And so I was covering three states at the time. And that was super challenging. Obviously, it was everything that stopped between 2008, 7, 8, 9. It started to come back at the very tail end. So it was tough in there. And at one point, I realized in mid 2009 to really just focus on the one on Cape Cod. So I was in Cape Cod. I was on up in the lakes region of New Hampshire and down the shore of Rhode Island. And I decided just let's focus on Cape Cod because that had the most life coming back to it. The other two states were just decimated. So I started focusing more on that. I had been a listing agent. That's really all I knew. And that was not the market to be in. That was not the game in that scenario because market property's just sitting. So I had to morph into being a buyer agent. And I hooked up with a program and it's got me going. And I started selling into 2010, realized the challenge with being on your own and having your own brokerage is that to get to the point where you have a big enough team around you where you're not the majority of the business. And my peers around me at that time were 50, 70% of the income. And all they were giving these people was a good split. And I wanted to do more than that. I wanted to give education, training, coaching, all the resources for an agent to really build their business. And so I realized in that environment it wasn't going to happen or not in the time frame that I wanted it to happen in. And I joined William Ravis, which is a really good sized regional firm. And great family-owned firm. So I took off in 2010, started doing well every year. It was growth. And then in 2013, I started getting bored and I didn't feel fulfilled. So I realized I really like that concept of helping agents grow. I wanted to get back to that piece of it and helping others and coaching and educating and training. So I got into management at that point and I've been doing that coaching and training and recruiting since 2013, which is a long time. So and I recently broke off my own. Again, the calling came. I had the feeling where I was just wasn't I got that lack of fulfillment again. Yet I loved what I did. I loved emotions. I love the activity. I love talking to people and the coaching piece of it. Yet it just didn't feel right. And then I realized that it didn't feel right because there's a certain piece of it that wasn't right. And what like you mentioned it earlier, that piece of recruiting, it's not necessarily in the best interest of both parties, the firm and the agent. And I wanted to take the approach where the agent's not going to be following friends. The agent's not going to be following shiny objects. The agent should be looking at what do they need, who are they, what are their goals, what are their actual capabilities, where they want to go with it, and then figure out what firm, what strategy they need to be able to plug in and go. And the firms I work with, they they love that idea because it works. They don't have to, but much of the work is done. When they get to that door, that person is a good fit. And I've turned people away. I've told people not to get in the business. I've had people suggest they stay in their firm and just get coaching, which I offer as well. Um, yeah, so that's kind of the knot that was bugging me, and I didn't. Took me a little while to figure that out. And what I'm doing, I think, it is very helpful for both sides, and we're going to see where we can expand it to beyond the triangle.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been pretty much in a position of a growth leader, right? Whether if it's for your own firm or a different firm for the majority of your real estate career, as you were selling as well, you were essentially growing the brokerage alongside that. So, um, the question I have for you is, when it comes to growing a real estate brokerage or a real estate team, right? What are some of the things that you're seeing out there today that are not working? And what was it that you did that made it so that you became a successful, a successful expansion leader for the brokerages and the firms that you're working with?
I learned by mistakes. So that was my biggest educator was my mistakes. So and it continues to happen with other agents. So the idea behind a team is sexy. Well, you look at these big team leaders and they got people following them. They have panache. They're big, right? And everybody wants to be that. Not everybody. A lot of people want to be that. So they go for let's get some agents on board, and they start partnering with agents, and they end up not really understanding the type of agent that they should be bringing in. They don't really think through how much time it's going to take to bring them on board and train them the way they want them to be trained. And they're representing that agent, and sometimes they just don't have the time or the bandwidth or the resources to be able to get them polished and selling her brand or his brand, whoever that leader is. Um, and they skip over getting an assistant. That should always be the number one thing to do. They jump it, and because they think that having more around them is going to make their job easier and their life easier, when their life could be a lot easier and they can make a lot more money just by hiring an assistant. And forget about the team until you get to that point where you have so much business coming in, you need help. And then you can either get a showing agent or a buyer's agent full on and then start. parsing off the buyers and focus on listings. That's typically what the lead agent does. So it's all the biggest challenge is skipping that first step of the assistant, and then just bringing in people without really having a full-on plan and way to onboard them properly.
Yeah. So now on the brokerage side, right? So if you're starting out and maybe you wanted to go and start a brokerage or grow an existing brokerage, what are some of the things that you're seeing here today? Because you mentioned right earlier on that you see there's a lot of recruiters out there and they're just going out there talking to any agent that's they could possibly bring on, and that's not the best fit. So if you're a broker, maybe you don't necessarily provide business to other agents. What are some of the things that you really need to consider when it comes down to not just your value proposition, but also, how do you go about successfully attracting the right agents to your team or your company, your firm, so that way it's a win-win situation for both sides?
Yeah. So as a firm, well, first, if someone was starting a firm right now, I would do my best to talk them out of it. It's brutal. And right now in the environment, if you're looking around, you're going to notice there are a lot of firms that have been around a long time and they stood alone, have their own brand, and they're joining other companies. I was talking to the guy yesterday. He had a strong brand, and I hadn't known it, but back in October, he actually joined Corcoran, Corcoran Group, because it helped. It gives them the resources that they need. So when it comes to use the right word, it shouldn't be recruiting, it should be attracting, right? So it should all be about getting out into the community, the agent community, and providing resources and being a resource where they can come in and learn from you. And when they're coming inside and they're seeing how you're treating your other agents, eventually they're going to want to work for you. It's to try to go out and drag them in and saying we got the best tools, we're going to make everything work for you. You're going to be living in Shangri-La. Let's go. That's a hard sell for one, and um, it really needs to be nurtured more than that. Most of the successful people that are attracting build relationships, and it's not a quick hit. It's a long-term relationship building, understanding what their needs are, and if you can truly help them, then they'll realize that and they'll come in. That's the way to go. It's a little more cumbersome than just picking up the phone and cold calling. Uh, you're gonna get a more quality, better fit.
Right. So, you've talked about this now a little bit, right? Just in the opening of the show and just now, but it's pretty much you want to make sure that you're not just going out there hard pitching other agents and trying to sell them, right? And I mean, that might work on a certain level, but I don't think that's the right way to create a relationship from the perspective of you as a team leader or a brokerage owner, and then going and, talking to an agent that you're going to be partnered with. Now, that's I've kind of always talked about this. You're selling like $20 product, maybe that's the right way to go, but this is completely different, right?
Yeah.
You want not the agent to just join you, but you want him to stay and be successful in order for this to actually be a fruitful partnership.
Yeah. I mean, you work with agents, you bring agents on into your firm. Um, so you get this, where there are some firms out there where they're buying their agents to come in. They're spending money, whether it's cash or whether it's massive marketing plans where they're not going to have to come out of pocket. That seems cool and it does attract people. And it typically attracts people that are coming from another firm that did that 5 years previously, and they're just following the money. So as a firm, it's not that stable, and as those agreements end, the for the agent, they have to start either renegotiating or the split's going to drop, the money's going to disappear. If they leave any sooner, there's a clawback for some of that money that was spent, and it's that's probably the least uh, positive way to bring somebody in because they're coming in for the wrong reasons. They're coming in for the money. They're coming in, and if that's not who I would think, it's not who I would want representing me. Someone that's just chasing money and not believing in the product, the company that that we have. So that's a huge challenge.
It's also very
Uh,
unsustainable, I would say, because
It,
how much
it
money?
it's a treadmill. I mean, it's a hamster wheel. You're continually recruiting, and every business is like that. Every real estate firm is like that. You have to continually grow, right? Any business. If you don't grow, you're going to die. So you have to continually bring people in. The challenge, the payout when you buying somebody to come in, it gets to be contentious as that agent gets closer to the end of that time period. And also, if I'm already on the inside the company and they're paying somebody to come in and they're giving that person a better split, and I'd been there for 5 years, how's that going to make me feel? Right?
Yeah.
So it causes a lot of issues when you start doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's not the best way to grow a partnership like that, I don't think. And you mentioned earlier as well, they don't actually believe in the company that they're joining. They're simply just there for the money or the amount of money being spent on them for whatever, whatever marketing tools or resources that's essentially being given to them for free. So that's a very interesting point. And so let's talk a little bit now, like backtrack a little bit, kind of topic we talked earlier on a little, but not too much, which is essentially how do you go out there if you're looking to attract the right agents to your firm or the right agents to your team? What are some of the best ways to start getting in front of agents? Because we know a lot of agents, right, who are doing a great job selling real estate, but they've never done attraction before. So, what are some of the best ways to get in front of agents to start that conversation?
Networking. It's showing up at events. It's hosting events.
Hmm.
And it's got to be out in the market. You got to get involved with the association. You want to create your own functions to get people to come to you. Show up at broker opens. Just be out in the field and really create a presence and be present there and be open to talking to everybody and don't try to pretend that you're not doing what you're doing. Just be honest, right?
Yeah.
There is a line. I will say there's a line that's easily crossed when you're at a networking event. Um, it's kind of like having commission breath. And you're coming in and you're right, and you're talking to somebody and you're trying to recruit them while you haven't supposed to be having a relaxed beer and cocktail or whatever. Back it up and just build a relationship, and then if you're going to make that advancement, do it outside of that time. Make the call later, call with some value, say, hey, that was a great conversation. You know, maybe think of this. Let's get together and talk about how I might be able to help you with that. Go in with value. It's same thing with a real estate agent, reaching out to clients, lead with contribution, and you'll build a better relationship.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned you want to be upfront about what it is that you're doing. So there's like you mentioned, there's a line, right? There's people who are going out there being way too aggressive and they're trying to close the deal on the spot before they even start talking to this person, before they even learn their name. Right? That's probably way into one end of the spectrum. Now, the other end of the spectrum is somebody who is so timid that they're going out there literally lying about what it is that they're doing because they don't
Right.
want to talk about the truth, which is they want to attract agents to their team or brokerage. So it's about finding that middle ground, right? It's being upfront about what it is you're doing, but not trying to not trying to close the deal before even learning somebody else's name.
I was at this event. We were doing a fundraiser, and this new agent walks in with her friend, and they're with a certain firm, and two different firms. The brand new agent's with the other. The seasoned agent walks in to a bunch of her compadres that are in the same firm. Three of them were like, "Oh, hello." They introduced to the new agent. "Oh, you should come work for us. You joining us?" Yeah. Didn't even know her name. Some of them probably didn't even hear it. and they're saying she should come over. No idea what she needs, what she wants. No clue. Yeah, let's go. And that's bad taste, and it's definitely not in the best interest of the agent.
Yeah. No, it's you see so much of that, right? And that's I think that's a again a product of people not knowing really how to conduct those conversations, right? A lot of agents they have the skill sets to go out there and sell real estate, but don't have the skill sets to go out there and actually talk to agents, which brings me to the next point, which is if you're going out there and you want to learn how to have these conversations with other agents that can add value to them, but also see if they can add value to you to see if this is a good relationship. Where does that conversation start? How do you go about that question answer process about discovering what it is that the agent is experiencing now, what they need, and whether or not if you can provide it for them as a potential firm to join?
Yeah, it's typically for me right now, I actually have an assessment that they take. So I have a tool that helps me define whether or not they're belong on a team, and it gives me insight how much money they have, how motivated they are to make money, invest in themselves. Do they have the leadership skills? And where in their world will they thrive the best, the most? So I can analyze a person thinking whether and find out whether or not they should be on a team or solo or run a team. Grow to owning a team. So that's that's where I start, and then the conversation goes from there. And that was built on the 13 years of recruiting and coaching, where I came up with that formula. And it's constantly being tweaked, um, just as different. I might hear something that I should have in there, and so I keep tweaking it. It it's a good tool. It works. And it's online. Anybody can use it and get an instant read on what their real estate strengths are. It's myrealestatestrengths.com. And it takes about 5 minutes at max. And it's really easy. You get an immediate read, and then you get a little more detail in a follow-up email. And it's a good start. It's a conversation starter. It's not the end all. It just will give the agent some insight and help them formulate some questions to ask and to explore as well.
Yeah. So everybody is in a different situation, right? Every agent is in a different situation, and every firm and every team offers something different as well. So it's about matchmaking, like kind of what you said in your bio introduction as well. You're a matchmaker for agents and
Sure.
firms that provide that as well. So I think that's really cool what it is that you do because there's not a lot of that. I haven't seen anybody else do that in the industry.
Well, yeah, there's some challenges in it, right? So it's it's the challenge is getting the trust of an agent and to get recognized, say, hey, Joe's just going to talk to me and help me. And that's what I have to get out there. And it's a win-win or it doesn't work. And if it's not a win-win, I don't make money, they don't improve, no, nothing gets wasted. They stay where they are and they flourish where they are. They hopefully they do. I mean, I've told people to get out of the business. Um, and I've told them to stay where they are, just get some coaching, like I was saying earlier. So yeah, um, it is matchmaking, and it's not just tools, it's personalities too, especially when it comes down to a team. It's absolutely personality, and I have to understand where the team's going, what their goals are, and where the growth pattern is for somebody that does come in. When it comes to a large firm, that gets a little more challenging because they all have the same tools in each office, yet they have different leadership, and that matters. And that matters a lot. So that can be a little more challenging to make sure I'm going to hit the right people. So it's on me to make sure the firms that I'm working for, I know them very well, and that match is gonna be the right one.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned the different leadership is what matters. Very, that's what matters as well, right? Based on who the agent is. and who is the person that they're going to be working with either directly or indirectly as their broker or their team leader, right? Who's the person that's facilitating the trainings? Who's the person that's going out there and, basically formulating the direction of the team as well. So when you're talking to people that you work with, and I'm talking about not the agent side now, I'm talking about the brokers and the team leader side now, the agents, these leaders that you work with. What are some of the things that you try to go through with them as far as not just finding out their value proposition, but also helping them develop their voice and their value proposition so they can go out there and be unique and not just, another face in the market.
Yeah. So yeah, that was funny. The first firm that I approached, or actually they approached me, kind of lit the fuse on this whole thing. And my first question was, "What's your value proposition?" And it was crickets. They didn't have one. They had no clue on what they were really offering except themselves, and that just isn't enough for in most instances. So I don't work with them. Just couldn't. They didn't. They felt as though they were good enough, and so they are good enough for what they want to be. And I can't work with somebody like that. So I did propose, and I do propose just working out, defining the values, the mission, the vision of where they want to go, what they believe in, what are their systems, what kind of services are they offering, and you have to compare that to what the commission split is and how it compares to the competition. And so that they can attract the right people and give value and maintain that retention and maintain their agents in the office. And that's a challenge for the best firms, retention. So on the attraction side, yeah, it's all about building your vision, being out on social media with the right look, the right feel, a true picture of who they are, and being present. It's all about having the right image, having the right tools, and being accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's a good point as well, right? You see a lot of people on social media, but they're not necessarily what they portray themselves to be, as well. So, I mean, that's where we get kind of the problem that you just mentioned, which is the attraction side. But you have a big front door, people coming in, but everybody's dropping out, and no agents are being retained,
That's right.
as well. Is that something that you work with people on as well if they're trying to build a team is, let's make sure that everything that we do from the agents coming in and your ability to deliver that is consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. I offer coaching one-on-one. I have training programs that I offer. So I can be their um, part-time or their fractional director of growth if they want that. And again, on the growth side, I'm not going to recruit for them. I'll bring people in that fit that model. And I'm going to be serving other companies. I'm not going to be dedicated because it's going to be what's right for the agent. And I will, provide the coaching and the training to retain their clients and keep them growing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty interesting, right? So I think we can talk a little bit more now about kind of what it is that you currently do with your consultation program. So you work with a number of different firms and you work with a number of different agents. How do you make sure that like you were just talking about, that they're not competing with each other, that you're able to serve everybody, fairly and in their best interest and make sure that they're okay with it.
Yeah, so it's in writing, right? And everyone's a little bit different. So there has to be a negotiation on that, um, on how to proceed with that. And most firm owners and team leaders, if I'm coaching inside their house or in the team, and somebody is thinking about leaving, the firm leaders don't want them. They're going to poison the rest of the pool. And I don't know, I've seen it way too many times when you get one disgruntled agent, they can take down too many. They just start spreading that germ, and it gets awful. And it can that I've seen it where that person leaves has created such a negative atmosphere, when they leave, a whole bunch of other people will go with them. So you really have to be careful um, about leaving those people in there. And they also have to trust me that I am not going to ever do anything that's going to hurt their business. Um, which I think that's easy because I know me. I'm not that guy. Yeah, we do put in writing to make sure there's a process. If if there is an agent, if I'm going to bring it to them, let them know they cannot dismiss that agent right away. They have to allow, we have to work together to try to keep that agent in place as best we can and really determine whether or not they should be there. And then if not, help them get out. Because no one wants that rotten apple in their office or on the team.
Right. And that's something I think, do you see a lot of team leaders and brokers struggle with is being able to let go? Because we want to, obviously retain as many agents as possible, but somebody's already thinking of leaving or made up their mind that they're going to leave. How hard do you see people pushing and how hard do you think people should be pushing to maybe make a one last ditch attempt effort to try to help them stay or to just simply let them go and peacefully and gracefully in that relationship.
Yeah, that's so many avenues. I got to think which one to go down first. Um, yeah, so too many times when an agent is saying, "Hey, I want to leave," the owner or the firm leader will say, "What do you need? We'll keep you. We'll give you a better split. We'll throw money at you." It's too late at that point, right? The agent gets almost insulted. And if they do take it, they're taking your money now and they're leaving as soon as that's gone. Because you are not giving them what they need until for this little band-aid you're putting on them, you didn't cure the problem. You're just band-aiding it. So there should be an attempt to try to figure out what they need, what they're looking for. Because sometimes, like this guy I was talking to last week, he has what he needs. He has the tools. He has a good split. He likes the people around him. He just doesn't have, they don't have the coaching to give him the direction to grow. And he can get that from me or from anybody to get that, any other coach. I shouldn't say any other coach. He can get that from other coaches um, where he can get the direction, dig into where he is. So a firm owner or lead team leader can talk to that agent, really understand what they're missing. And if they actually already have it, and it's just a training, it could be just training that they need that they didn't know was there, a resource that they didn't know was there. It's crazy that happens. Yeah, in this world of not having a home base, an office where everybody goes and chats and talks and learns together. Everyone's so siloed out that they don't always understand all the offerings that a company has. So if somebody's thinking of leaving, again, that agent should say, "Hey, I got a problem. Can you help me?" And then try to figure it out. Not just that agent shouldn't leave because they got a friend over here or they chasing that shiny object or um, they have the best widget or whatever it is, the best CRM ever. Um, so they have to be really cautious about when they leave, and they should investigate. And the team leader and the owner should allow that. They should allow that conversation, an open conversation, and give them the space to figure it out. Um, and let them guide them out. You're doing them a favor. They're going to appreciate you. You're doing yourself a favor because they're not going to be in your house spoiling things. And then there's appreciation along the way. And everybody wins in that way if somebody's going to lead. Just be open about it. It's too small of a market. I don't care how big your market is. We all work together. You know, if you could be best friends with your broker and you say goodbye to them, you're not working underneath them, you're going to see them at the next event. You're going to be, it doesn't go away. So why don't we just take care of each other and help everybody succeed? maybe I'm too sunshiny on that one, but I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to approach it too, because as an agent, what are you working, like who are you working with, right? You're working with other agents, right, on the other side of the deal. So I don't understand why you would go out there and, be rude or disrespectful to another agent for whatever
Right.
reason.
And I've seen it happen where an agent will get was recruited out and recruited, paid to leave, um, and the firm fought to let her listings go. They wouldn't allow her to take her listing clients, which is legal. The firm owns the listings, so it's totally by right they could do that. Yet that hurt that company so badly because it got around that they're not fair players, they're not treating their people right. It hurt them for a long time. And when there's an issue inside of a firm and there's with an issue with an agent, help them get out. Don't kick them out. Help them get out. Do what's best for them. They can do what's best for you in the marketplace. The agent will never speak poorly of them. Oh, they shut my computer off as soon as I said, this has happened. They say, hey, I'm thinking of leaving. Next day, their CRM shut off, or like an hour later, the CRM shut off and they have no access to anything. And that, I don't know how that helps the firm.
Yeah. And there's no chance of that agent ever even considering coming back or even recommending anybody else to go to that
And
firm.
I know it. Who else they telling, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really good. Some really good advice to team leaders and broker owners that are out there, right? You don't want to burn that bridge, and regardless if you're I've got other agents in the firm or yourself doing deals with them, or if you are looking to expand your team more and potentially have this agent come back, don't go out there and really burn that relationship, right? No matter how upset or angry you might be. It's just your value proposition is not currently matching up with where this agent is at, and they need somewhere where they are going to get that value, and it's going to be the best for everybody because like you mentioned earlier, you're going to have this one agent who's not with kind of the culture or the program, right? And it's going to mess up how you show up for this agent. It's going to mess up how the team collaborates together, and just the entire feel of how your team or your brokerage wants to feel essentially.
Yeah. 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 It's a small pool of people that we all work with. And if we don't treat each other well, it'll all come back to you.
Yep, exactly. Well, Joe, man, I appreciate you being on the show today. I learned a lot from you, and I think our listeners here have as well. And especially if they're going out there and they want to not just upgrade their business as a real estate agent and find the right firm or right brokerage to partner up with, but also if you are broker owner or team leader that's looking to expand your team or your group of agents, what it is that you need to do, what are some of the things that, kind of going on in the marketplace that you might be doing wrong, and then how to fix that as well. And really have that abundance mindset where everybody can win, just finding out who it is that you can serve. So, Joe,
That's
man,
right.
but, I want to thank you again for being on the show. For anybody out there who is listening or watching this that want to learn more about what it is that you do, maybe they want to talk with you so that they can get some consulting themselves. What are some of the best ways for them to reach out to you and find you on the internet?
Sure. So if you're for agents, if they're interested in seeing where they fit, myrealestatestrengths.com. You can go and take that assessment. On top of that, I'll give a 15-minute overview. Well, we'll sit down and talk about it if you want to do that for free. And um, I have a podcast as well on YouTube, Facebook, The Real Joe Show. It's all real estate agents and investors, and it's similar to what you're doing, Kobe, which is a great service that I think you're providing. Um, and yeah, but it's that's probably the two best ways, the easiest ways to get me. You
Yeah,
know,
make sure to leave the links to that in the description down below. And guys, make sure to go check out Joe's podcast as well. And I'm sure he has a lot of very similar topics that we talk about. So if you enjoy my show, I'm sure you're going to enjoy Joe's show as well. And go check out his podcast. But other than that, man, Joe, appreciate you being on the show. Before we let you leave, is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips you would like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, sure. It's just always take your time, really dig into who you are, get a coach. Um, there's a big misnomer of what a coach does, and coach really will help you understand who you are, what you need, and there's no bias. A real coach isn't trying to sell you a plan or a system. It's helping you find who you are, and that's what I would recommend. And it's one of the things I wish I had done earlier. And if you do it now, why not? Now's the time to do one if you don't have it. If you don't have a coach.
Exactly. That's some great advice, Joe. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see
Thanks
you
for
in the
having me
next
on.
show.
All
Take
right.
care.
Take care. Thanks so much.